is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. I have a beautiful song for you today. We're going to learn how to play Amanda by Boston. So this was a big smash hit in 1986, and it was on 12-string guitar, so it gives me another excuse to use my new 12-string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all the acoustic guitar parts first. Just going to go throughout the track, do the acoustic. Then we'll go back and take care of the electric parts with all the fills and the solo, the harmony work and stuff. So just, straight through with the acoustic parts first, which is the main song anyway. All right, before I do that, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell so you know when I release a new video. And please check out my Guitar Academy. It's at GuitarLessons365.com. We have a great community going over there, and hopefully you'll join us. All right, so let's jump into this. I'm in standard tuning on a 12-string, of course, but this will work fine for just an acoustic, like a 6-string if you don't have a 12. We have this great intro. It goes into the verse right there, which starts the same way. So let me just show you that real quick. We're going to start with this G chord. Now it's the G chord that has the version of the G chord that has the open B string. So we have the 3rd fret on the high E, open B, G, and D, 2nd fret on the A, 3rd fret on the G, the low E. From there, what you're going to do is you're going to hammer on the 2nd fret on the D string and then the 1st fret on the B string. And you're going to want to mute the A string when you do that. You can do that just by using the bottom of your ring finger there. So we have this. So we have. When you transition back to the G, you're going to pick the 2nd fret there on the G string, move over to the 2nd fret on the G, and pull off to the open string. So we have this. B. All right, so that then moves to the verse, which starts with that same lick. So that's the verse. I'm just kind of humming. I don't really know the lyrics. I'm just kind of humming the melody along with it so you'll know where I'm at. So we start with that same. And then when you get back to the G, it goes G, take E minor, then into a B minor chord. So that's a bar at the 2nd fret with the 3rd fret on the B string, 4th fret on the G, and the 4th fret on the D. So he strums that a couple times, and then he does this. You basically pick up those fingers just so a strict bar across the 2nd fret there, and hammer back on those chords and make it a B minor again. So we have this. Then we go to a C major chord. So then from that C, we go to a G major chord with B in the bass. So it's just like a G major chord. This one though with the 3rd fret on the B string there. And you just stop there at the 2nd fret on the A string is the bass note. So we have the, A minor chord, and then we have this figure. So after that A minor, you're going to hit the 3rd fret on the low E string twice, and then what you're going to do is hit the open G and the B together, hammer on the second fret on the G and the first fret on the B. And then what he does is he picks up the note that's on the B string, so it's an open B, and you pick the G string there, the second fret, and then the open B. Just the way this. So from there, we do this. So here, it's a little tricky. What we're doing first, the first time you hear him do that little, it's actually a pull off. So you hold a D major chord, and you hold the, make it a sus4 chord by adding the third fret there on the high E string. So you play that, and then pull off to the 2 to make it a full D. So that's just the first time you hear it, so right at this. And then from there, we're gonna do this. So basically all that is you're gonna have the open G and open high E strings now. You're gonna strum across these 4 strings. Remember, you're still holding the third fret on the B. And then you're gonna hammer on that second fret on the G and the second fret on the high E to make it a D major. Do that 3 times. And then you're gonna kind of get back to this, the very last chord in the verse here. We're gonna play a C major chord. And we're gonna put the G on top. So just play a C major chord and add that third fret on the high E string. So from this G chord, so the second verse is the same, except when we get to the, after we do that, when we get to the D chord, instead of doing that, we just strum a normal D, and it's really, this part is the pre-chorus when it gets to that D chord. So the second verse, when you get there, second time through the verse, when you get to the D chord, it basically turns into the pre-chorus. We have this. That takes us to the chorus, so it's real quick. So you'll hear a lot of guitar fills, electric guitar fills played over these pre-choruses, which I'll do in the electric guitar portion of this lesson. So we have just that D major, and then it goes to a C add 9 chord. So that can just be the open, the third fret on the high E and the B. Open G, open D, and then the third fret on the B string. Actually, we probably just call that a, yeah, we can call that a C sus2 actually. And then we take it down to that G chord with the B in the bass, which is just, remember, the second fret there on the A string, everything else stays the same. And then we take it to a D chord with A in the bass, so the open A string. And then it just goes up and grabs a quick D sus4 before it gets to the chorus. So that pre-chorus. And then we have the chorus. It's like this. So that's pretty easy. Just an E minor, to A minor, and then it goes to a D. And probably the acoustic is just, you can just strum that D if you want, and then the electric guitar overdub kind of does that kind of thing over it. But you can do that on acoustic too. Kind of strum the D and pick the B string, and then just strum the full chord, just like sus4 down to the D, sus2 down back to the D, and then the sus4. So it's just a 3 2 0 3 2 on the high E is all that is. At the very end of the chorus, we end with that C sus2 chord. All right, and then we're back to verse number 2. It's got some electric guitar fills over it, but just kind of holding that third fret on the low E is all it's doing, really. But we have the same things going on in the acoustic guitar part for verse 2, and the same thing with the next pre-chorus. We have the. So basically, we just go verse pre again a couple of times until we get to the solo. The solo is basically just the chorus chords. We're going underneath the solo. So out of that, we go back out of the solo. We're back into the chorus. Same chords as before. And then we get to the bridge section. And the bridge section changes to the key of E. So that sounds like this. Back to the chorus. So it's a really cool bridge section. And there's an electric guitar on there that's I got a capo on there. So when I get to the electric part, probably want to do the capo, but I'll kind of show you something how to do it without the capo. But so we just start with this E to a B minor 7 chord. So it's a bar at the 2nd fret there, 3rd fret on the B, and 4th fret on the G. 4th fret there, on the D. The G is going to be the 2nd fret, just part of that bar. So after you've done that like a few times, the vocals come in over. Starts moving around quite a bit. All right, so that's a C to a D, and then a G to D with F sharp in the bass to E minor. So from that C, and then we go to the D and C again. So chords are moving around really quick, like one per beat. So when it gets to this G, we go G, D, F sharp in the bass, E minor, D, C, and then we kind of do the chords just that are in the verse. C, that G with the B in the bass, to the A minor, to the G, and end it with the D. So when we get to that D chord, it's basically a pre-chorus. But it's a pre-chorus. It's that pre-chorus riff that goes just back to the verse, that they have a little kind of a verse variation to the end the song with. So that whole bridge section halfway through from that C chord. So you can go to that C chord if you want before you start over that last verse. Now the ending verse kind of stops like halfway through. It just looks like this. So it starts with that's the same verse. So that B minor. Now the difference now, instead of playing that C, going to the C to that G with the B in the bass, and then the A minor, it goes straight to the A minor. So we go from that B minor. This is the very last time, at the very end of the song. They go to A minor to that G. And they do that, still do that little hammer-on figure, and then just end it with the D major chord. So, all right. So now let's take a look at the electric guitar parts. All right. So now let's take a look at. I'll just kind of give you the minute and second marks of the parts that I'm doing here. So this is during the first pre-chorus. Starting at the 48-second mark, we have this little fill that happens. All right, so that is going to be basically just we're going to start here with this 9th fret there on the G. And then you're going to hammer 7, 9, pull off, back to 7 on the G, and then 5. So it is. But it kind of does a variation of that throughout the whole song whenever he gets to this part. And then we have a D chord, and we have this. Now from there, we have slide to the 7th fret there on the G, over to B on the, 8 on the B string, back to that 7 on the G, and then a Holstead bend and release at the 10th fret on the B, back down to that 8, and then back to 10, then a little legato thing there, was just hammering 8 to 10, pull off to 8, slide down to 7. So from that 7, we're sliding into it. And then leading into the chorus, we're going to have, it's kind of just a second fret on the A string into the open D string. And then it gets us to the chorus. Now the chorus, the electric guitar part in the chorus is just kind of the same thing. But so that's just like, when you play that, pick that 3rd fret on the B string, then 3, 2, 0, 2, 3, then just like the acoustic part, it just ends with that C+2 chord. And then it's back to the verse again, and then we have pre-chorus number 2, and at the 1 minute and 43 mark, we have this fill. And that just goes back, wraps back to the verse again, doesn't go into the chorus. So that's just a quick trill from 9 to 11, back to 9 on the G. And then the same trill at the 7th and 9th fret. And then play 7, 8 on the B. And then do that same trill thing at the 5th and 7th fret on the G string. So this. All right, so then we get into after that little fill, we get into the next verse, and there's just some electric guitar parts just to kind of holds the 3rd fret a couple of times on the low E string. And then the 2nd fret on the A, and then we have this fill that comes in. So that's just this. So that's sliding into 7th fret on the G, and then 10th fret bend, and then play 10, 8, 7 on the B, and then, or you can do it here too as well, 5, 7, 5 trill on the B string, and then 7 on the G string, and then 5. And then we have what kind of leads into the guitar solo, which this kind of starts at the, well, it leads into the solo here. So it sounds like this. I'll kind of do the lead into the solo and then the bottom harmony line here. All right, so that is gonna start with this sliding into the 7th fret there on the G, over to 8 on the B, back to the 7th fret on the G. Then we have a bend and release at the 10th fret on the B string, down to 8, and then repeat that. So we have this. All right, and then you're gonna skip up to, shift up to 10, 12, and then play 13, 12, 13. So we have this. And then we get to the actual solo, which is pretty repetitive, but kind of difficult because you have to do the bend with your index finger. So because you slide into the 16th fret there. This is the low harmony part. I'll show you the high harmony in a second. 16th fret there on the G string, over to the 15th fret on the B, and then you start doing the whole step bend. And at the end, after you do a few of those bends, just kind of follow that note. You end it with a little trill. That's why you had to do it with your index finger. Hammer on 15 to 17, pull back off to 15. And then there's 3 guitars going here. We have probably more, probably there's acoustic on there too. So there's a lot of guitars. So that's the low harmony part we just started. And the high harmony part does this. So that's sliding into the, this one's a little bit easier. Slide into the 15th fret on the B string, over to 15th fret on the high E, And then you're gonna, I'm sorry, 14th from the high E, and then a half step bend. And do that same thing along with those bends. Those half step bends. Resolve it, and then start over. Remember, at the end of it, when you resolve it, you're going to do that little hammer 14 to 15 and pull back up to 14. All right, now we really get to the bridge section, which is mostly clean guitar parts. We have a capo at the 2nd fret here, which if you don't want to use a capo, so I'm not really trying to get the melody exactly right. I didn't, since that's kind of impossible to like just switch to a capo in the middle of a track. So probably the best bet here is just to do some strumming across the E major and then that B minor 7 that we did in the acoustic guitar part. Instead of trying to do all those lines. A little bit cumbersome though, but if you can get that, just kind of does. So it's kind of up to you. If you want to throw a capo on there, you're just doing that around a D major and an A minor 7. All right, so pretty simple if you do have the capo. All right, and so that's about it for all the electric guitar parts and the song in general here, I believe. Got some great guitar stuff in it. It's just a really well laid out tune, and the vocals are fantastic, of course. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.